Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is just to read on your phone nowadays? Every app you download seems to want something from you, your attention. They want you to keep a daily streak alive. They want to give you a digital badge for opening the app a couple days in a row. They want to bombard you with all sorts of meaningless notifications and achievements. As a student who uses these applications and an iOS developer, I realized that modern mobile reading apps have turned reading into a game. They've gamified the experience to keep you hooked, but in doing so, they completely destroy the ability to sit quietly and reflect. They distract us from what's important and do so without the user even realizing. I wanted something different. I wanted a space for users that felt intimate, quiet, and completely free of distractions. So I decided to build it myself. Hello everyone, my name is Victor Lee and I hope you guys are having a great day so far. Today I wanted to tell the story of my iOS app BiblicalFocus and how I learned that making something look and feel incredibly simple actually requires a level of thoughtfulness that is absent from so many interfaces today. When I started designing the app, my core philosophy was calm technology. I wanted the screen to feel like a peaceful environment. So I started with the colors. Instead of a harsh white background with colorful graphics, the default app theme is a duotone bluish-gray palette. I actually took inspiration from Steve Jobs. When he was designing the original Apple stores, he chose a specific sandstone called Pietra Serena for the floors because he thought it evoked a grounded, quiet atmosphere. I wanted the background of my app to feel just like that. Furthermore, instead of just a differently colored background for each app theme, I added a little more, aesthetic details unique to each theme without demanding direct attention. But getting the colors right was only the beginning. The real challenge was the layout. My goal was to dedicate about 65 to 70% of the screen to pure empty space, focusing the user's attention to the text displayed. But I faced challenges to maintain this visual balance as more features were added. Soon, I realized the need for multiple tabs to be added. Initially, I did what almost every developer does. I put a standard tab navigation bar at the bottom of the screen with icons for home, reflections, favorites, and the Bible. But after staring at it for a few days, I realized it was a complete eyesore. Against all that empty space I'd carefully planned out, those little buttons acted like visual anchors, constantly dragging my eyes away from the text. So, at that time, I made a somewhat radical decision to completely delete the navigation bar. I removed those buttons entirely. Instead of tapping buttons, I built a gesture-based system. For example, to switch between sections, you use a pinch to zoom gesture on the screen. Conceptually, there is an intuitive aspect to this gesture, as you are physically zooming out to step back and look at the whole app. When you do this, the current screen displayed fades away and you can scroll through transparent snapshots of other tabs, then select the one you want to go to. By deliberately removing buttons across the entire app and using gestures for usage and navigation, I introduced a slight learning curve for new users. But that was actually intentional in more ways than one. It forces you to slow down. It prevents accidental taps. It makes navigating the app a deliberate, intentional choice for users rather than a mindless click. But here is the secret about minimalist design. If an app looks simple on the outside, it actually has to be incredibly smart on the inside. A buttonless, gesture-driven app feels instantly broken if the screen freezes or if a loading spinner suddenly pops up. In my early prototypes, I used a free online database or a Bible API to fetch the verses. Whenever you wanted a new verse, the app would ask the internet for it, wait for a response, and then display it. It was the standard way to build such an app, but it was flawed. A slow internet connection meant a slow app. Even worse, you couldn't use it in airplane mode. If the goal was to eliminate distractions, the user needed to be able to turn off their Wi-Fi and still use the app perfectly. So I completely rewrote the backend. I took a massive text file containing all 31,000 verses and bundled it directly into the app's code. I organized it into a highly specialized local dictionary. It made the app's file size a little bit bigger, but the trade-off was absolutely worth it. Because the text lives directly on your phone, searching for a chapter or pulling up a random verse happens in a fraction of a second. It is so fast that the gestures feel physically connected to the text, and more importantly, it works entirely offline. The final piece of the puzzle was integrating AI. I wanted users to have a companion to accompany them while they were reading, something they could ask when they were faced with dilemmas about historical context or true meaning. But there is a reason artificial intelligence is not traditionally used or encouraged for tasks like this. It has a bad habit of talking too much. For example, if you ask a generative AI like ChatGPT a simple question, it usually generates massive wads of text containing information which you are and aren't looking for. That jumble would completely ruin the minimalist aesthetic of the app. To fix this, I set up a secure middleman on a separate server. When you ask a question, the app doesn't just send your words, it silently attaches the entire verse you are currently reading to the message. You never have to explain your context to the AI because it already knows exactly what you're looking at on your screen. Then I gave the AI a strict rule. It is not allowed to generate more than 150 words, and its creativity and randomness are significantly dialed down to ensure consistent, relevant results every time. The AI is a companion that gives you exactly the insight you need and nothing more. Building biblical focus completely changed how I view software development. I learned that good design isn't just about what features you can add, it's also about what you are brave enough to take away. By hiding the navigation, moving all the data offline, and strictly limiting the AI, I managed to build a quiet room in a very noisy digital world. It was a challenging journey, but it proves that technology, when used correctly, can actually protect our peace of mind. The Biblical Focus download for iOS is attached in the description below, and so is the Biblical Focus YouTube channel. Check it out if you are interested. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.